This is an interesting investigation which was written on 2020 November. So it reads an outbreak of thyrotoxicosis. Thyrotoxicosis is a medical condition caused by high levels of thyroxin in the blood. Now we've already read about, or we've already studied thyroxin and the increase in the blood, which needs to be corrected by the endocrine system. So they say there was a sudden increase in the number of reported cases of this condition in one city. They suspected that this was due to people eating ground beef or minced meat from a local butcher. The butcher added thyroid glands. There we go, thyroid gland. If you still remember, the thyroid gland is the gland that is found. Let me just try to go up there. So the butcher was adding this to the ground beef, but it was thyroid gland of cattle. So the thyroid glands of cattle, when he produced, so let's go back. The butcher added the thyroid glands of cattle when he produced the ground beef. Some people who ate this ground beef showed symptoms of increased heart rate, excessive sweating, as well as weight loss. Now, these are the effects of an increase in thyroxin. What do I mean by that? An increase in thyroxin, like I said, it increases the metabolic rate. Metabolic rate increase. And when this metabolic rate increases, it can also cause the heart rate to increase, excessive sweating, and since more glucose and more fats are broken down, this can also lead to weight loss. So that is what happens when you have high thyroxine in the blood. So doctors conducted an investigation to determine if the ground beef caused this thyrotoxicosis. The normal thyroxine levels of 5 individuals were measured. 5 volunteers were measured. They were then given cooked ground beef from the butchery to eat. Their thyroxine concentration was measured every 4 hours on day 1, and then once a day for the next 23 days. The average thyroxine levels was calculated and recorded. The results are shown in the graph. So here's the graph that is showing you on your y-axis you have your average concentration of thyroxine in micrograms per dl, and then here you have hours as well as days. And as we can see, your graph starts at 5, and from there it just increases. There's a sharp peak here, meaning what does that tell you? It tells you that the concentration of thyroxine increased, and this is when these 5 volunteers they started eating the ground beef with the thyroid gland. So there was an increase in the thyroxine level in their blood, and as time lapsed, then it was followed by a decrease in the thyroxine level, right? So the reason why this is decreasing it is because your body or your endocrine system is trying to correct by negative feedback. So from here, if you can see from here until here, this is negative feedback. What do I mean by that? I mean that when thyroxine increased, as you can see, the thyroxine levels increased, then your pituitary gland picked that up, and what it did was to secrete less TSH, and less TSH stimulated the thyroid gland to secrete less thyroxine, and the thyroxine level started to decrease as time lapsed or days lapsed. So there it is. Let's go to 6.1. What do they want for 6.1 there? They are saying give the average normal thyroxine concentration in the blood of the volunteers. The normal will be this value here, 5, because this is before they ate the ground beef, so it means 5 micrograms per dl was their normal thyroxine level. 5 micrograms per dl, this was their normal thyroxine level in the blood. And then having a look at 6.2, they say calculate the percentage increase. So people, you must be able to do this. This is skills, so you must be able to calculate percentage increase in any graph or any data given. So they say we must now calculate this percentage increase of the average thyroxine concentration in the first 8 hours. So there's the 8 hours, and as you can see, the 8 hours will definitely go up to, I think it's 25, yes, somewhere there around 25. So we can use the equation. If you still remember, the equation is percentage, is it percentage increase? Yes, percentage increase will equal to, we have your difference, you take your difference between the two values, then you divide by the initial value, the value that you started with. So let's take the difference to find this percentage increase. Now what is the difference? Well, I'm looking at 5 and 25, so I subtract the smallest number from the bigger number. And what is the initial value? The value that I started with is 5, so this is gonna be 5, and I must multiply this. By the way, this has to be multiplied by 100, so it's multiplied by 100, so I must multiply this by 100, and this is gonna give me a 400% increase. Yes, it is possible to have a percentage increase that is greater than 100%. So this is how they would mark it if it's 3 marks like that. So you should be in a position to know how to calculate percentage increase. Now they say, now explain why thyrotoxicosis causes weight loss. Again, I did mention that you must be able to account or explain or comment about a person's weight loss with regards to thyroxine levels in the blood. So why does it cause weight loss? For 6.3, number one, what do we know is that an increase in what? Increase in thyroxine, right, results in what? Results in the increase in the metabolic rate. Thus you have an increase in what? Increase in cellular respiration, right? Cellular respiration, therefore more glucose is broken down and more fats, more fats are also broken down. Therefore this means that less fats are stored. So this is why it leads to weight loss, and you should also be able to explain that in length. So let's also look at question the last one, which is 6.4. So 6.4, they're asking us the expected concentration of we should explain the expected concentration of TSH in the blood in the 8 hours after eating. In the 8 hours after eating. So, after eating that ground beef, what is going to happen in that 8 hours after eating that ground beef? Remember that ground beef has thyroid. It has thyroid, sorry. It has thyroid gland. So it has a thyroid gland. So since it has a thyroid gland, then it means that there's going to be an increase in the thyroxin in the blood. So after these people have eaten, there will be an increase. So there will be an increase in the thyroxin, in the concentration of the thyroxin levels in the blood. So that now we are trying to explain this graph. So basically after eating, what happens? What is expected? We must explain now. There is what? After eating, there is an increase in the thyroxine levels or concentration, right? Because they said concentration, let me stick to concentration. Now, if there's an increase in the thyroxine concentration, what will the pituitary gland do? The pituitary gland detects the increase in thyroxine concentration and secretes less TSH, right? So less TSH will stimulate what? The thyroid gland. It will stimulate the thyroid gland to do what? To secrete less thyroxine. Therefore, we have already answered this question. Here's our answer here. We said if there is an increase in the thyroxine concentration, that means the pituitary gland will therefore be stimulated and detect the increase, and therefore it will secrete less TSH. So the TSH levels or the concentration of TSH will decrease. So I think I was supposed to write that. Yeah, I think I gave them too much information there. They did not want to know about thyroxine, they want to know about TSH. So I must finish the sentence by saying the TSH concentration decreases, because that is the concentration expected. So I must say TSH concentration will decrease. And that's about it. That's 3 marks there. 1, 2, 3.